not disemphasizing, ground driving with Dakota today. So hopefully we can kind of expand on what we did the other day. And she had a really short session because she was doing really well and it was her first time. So I don't want to do too much, but I'm gonna go ahead and put that line up on that top ring on the surcingle and then run it down to the ring on her halter. I'm gonna do that on both sides. Um, and she's standing here nicely for it, so I like that. I'm pretty happy with that. And then I like to just set those lines on top and then I can just go around and attach it and then I can go back on that left side and grab the rest of the length of my line and then start ground driving her from there. That really works well, so that I have both of the lines and I'm not like tossing them on the ground or anything like that. So I want to kind of keep as much control of them as I possibly can. So I can grab my other one and then I can kind of get rid of the excess and get her going. And I want her to also stand during this point. I don't want her just taking off and leaving whenever she wants to. And there she goes. Right as I say that, right? Um, I'm just getting my lines together. It's not a big deal if she leaves, but I need to make a note of that to where I can click her while she's standing still and feed her there because she does need to do that and not just walk off without me. I'm gonna get her ground drive. So right now I just have the lines up kind of over her hips, just so they're kind of away from the ground a little bit more. And you can ground drive with them on any of the rings. I do a lot just on that bottom ring, but it is going to be closer to the hocks on like on the hind legs. So that is something to think about if you're not great with rope handling skills. This might be a little bit easier. So I'm just kind of tossing that outside line up over her hip while she grazes a little bit. Um, and so now I'm just going to ask her to steer a little bit, and she's going forward quite nicely. I'm pretty happy with that. Ask her to steer here. Her steering's not the best. So she's got her nose kind of there going forward there. Her front feet go. So I'm not gonna release when I got the head and neck. I need those feet to go forward too, and then that's where I'm letting go of the pressure on the roller. So, and I clicked her there while she figured it out to help just kind of show her the right answer. And then you saw me there tossing up the line, so I had both the lines on one side and then going ahead and giving her a treat. I'll put the line back, and I do want her to stand during this whole process, so I definitely should work on that and click and feed her for doing that. So that's one of the issues that I'm kind of creating myself here. And then we can have her keep going again, get that line where I want it. I'm gonna just kind of toss it like extra that way so I can get it in position. There we go. And she's pretty distracted with wanting to graze, which is not great because you really don't want their head pretty low because, I mean, you want to keep control of those lines so that they don't step through them or on them. Um, you have to be really careful with all your lines and your excess lines and getting tangled or anything like that. So, but I like the pace of her walk here. This looks really good. She's going pretty fast for her. You can see her go pretty slow in this. So I'm asking her to turn to the inside. So there we go. I'm getting a lot of head movement, and that's kind of like the rings on the surcingle give that rein a little bit more like leverage, so I can get a lot of neck movement. But what I'm really looking for here is again that leg movement and actual steering. So once she actually steps over to the left, I'm clicking, letting go of that rein pressure, and then going up and feeding her. And then like that time, I didn't toss the rein over or the line over, so. I mean, you can kind of mix it up. If your horse is really worried about like having the line over, or you're worried about them being tense or something like that, we'll just toss it up over so you have it, and you're kind of less likely to be like tangled up in it. But that's kind of your preference. But I kind of mix, like I do a little bit more. Like certain horses, I always toss it over. For her, it's sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But this looks nice, and I'm off kind of to the inside here so she can still see me well. I mean, really, I'd have to be right next to her tail for her to not really see me, but it does weird out a lot of horses. So, or some horses, like she wasn't really super worried about me being behind her, so that is good. I am happy about that. Some horses really want to turn around and face you or continue moving their head to see you. So there she steered a little bit to the inside. That looks really nice. Again, she's stopping and getting her reward and then going off again really nicely. So really this is coming together quite well. I'm really liking this. And really we had a couple of hiccups in the beginning you've seen in the other videos, but it really smoothed out, and I'm liking where she's going with this. And she's a little sticky with the steering, but especially since I'm starting her under saddle. This is a good opportunity to really work on that steering, and I really like ground driving. I think it's really good to teach horses a lot of different things. Obviously, she's wearing the tack. I'm behind her. I'm kind of more to where I would be when I'm on her. Like there's a part of me on each side of her, or some parts she can't see, kind of like that. And then the steering as well. So obviously, like my legs aren't on her, like there's no weight on her, but we are adding in like things to get closer to riding. So she does look really good with this, and I love the ground driving for that because really you can teach pretty much your whole steering, your steering and stopping, and you have a good go forward voice cue, and that's really going to set you up for riding. So ground driving is super beneficial. I really like it. So, but yeah, she's looking pretty good. Really like I have just my lines like laid over so they're not looped because I don't want to get my hand or my finger stuck in there if she were to get worried and run off or something, pull on the rein. So they're just like laid over, and then I have the majority of it just in one hand, and then I kind of steer and have my whip in my right hand. So I'm asking her to trot. That was really good. That was her first trot in the lines, and she stayed pretty straight. She wanted to kind of turn, but she didn't turn all the way, so that's okay. And then she can go off straight again. And that's why that steering in hand is really beneficial, because if your horse does turn like that, you know that they can turn away from you and follow that line away and then straighten out and keep going forward. Um, that's super important. Ask her to stop here. She's going to continue going. I'm just applying a little bit of pressure and just holding it until she stops. There we go. She kind of take a little step backward. That was really nice. I'm going to click her and go give her her treat. So that looks good. And in the beginning, obviously, it's not going to be the prettiest of stops and prettiest of backups or anything. Like her steering wasn't beautiful, her stops weren't beautiful. But this is the beginning. Like she's a green horse, so don't get too discouraged. Even if your horse is like under saddle, this is completely different from them. If you're just teaching them to ground drive and they already know how to ride, just let them like it's okay. Like don't expect them to be perfect in the beginning because it's not gonna happen. And there's a lot of timing and management on your end with the reins and your position, and there's a lot of things going on. So it takes some time. I would definitely, as ridiculous as it sounds, like ground drive somebody if you can, like a person, and work on that, or attach the lines to a fence so you can kind of practice a little bit, because there is a lot of rein handling that you need to do, because the reins need to be up off the ground. Um, you need to be tossed over. They need to not be tangled in them. There's a lot. So that was a much better halt for this way. Um, so she's already getting the hang of it really quickly. So just kind of get her rope out of her tail here so it's not underneath it. Get the extra figured out here so I can ask her to go forward again. I'm just going to steer her. She wanted to kind of go off to the right, so I'm just going to go ahead and steer her to the left and have her keep going here and have that fence kind of help her out here. And I want to make sure that those lines don't get too close to the ground, even though they're not like, and they're not between her and the surcingle, like her face and the surcingle. I want to keep them nice and high. And I can just kind of have them in one hand and then have my other hand free, because if I need my driving whip or if I need to adjust, I have that other hand out, and I can do some feeding with that too. So she's barely gotten to the trot there. I just need like a stride or two. I'm gonna click and feed her. She did turn a little bit, not too bad. I'm not super mad about that. I don't want her to turn all the way around, but I'm okay with that. I just want to straighten her out and ask her to go, and I don't want to apply like left lane and right and have her come back around. There we go. So she kind of goes off straight again. Good. Nice, decent walk here. Nice forward walk for her. Back into the trot, and she's going off of the voice cue, so I'm really happy with that too. That's why I do all of the lunging and stuff first, so that we have that solid. I'm not going to try to like chase her, and it's going to be so much harder to get her to go forward if I didn't do that. And I just like was like, oh well, I'm gonna ground drive even though my trot isn't solid, or like my go forward cues aren't solid, because then it's a lot more difficult to do. There, now I'm gonna let her trot a little bit further, and before I click and treat, that looks great. And I love that she's nice and straight here. She didn't turn around and try to look toward me, so that is definitely good. But one thing that I would do is like when I get back to here, I would click and treat and then go back and feed. That's one thing I didn't do with her, and I'm starting to create a horse that as soon as I get behind her, cueing that to like go forward. So she's like, oh, go forward again. Oh, you're back there, go forward again. So be careful with that. That was one thing I definitely messed up on in this. Even though she is a very laid back, not go forward horse, if you have anything that's remotely more forward than this horse, that you'll create that go forward all the time behavior, and that's kind of frustrating, especially if your horses already have a tendency to go forward, and it's hard to train and fix once you have it. So from the beginning, like just standing behind them, click treat, and working on that stand. So I'm trying to get her to steer here. She got a little stuck. She figured it out, so that's nice. Yeah, if I'd have her halt, then I could click. She halts, go up and retreat, go right behind her like I'm in position to drive her again, and then click and treat and do that. And then I can, from there, I can go to just sometimes I go behind her and ask and reward her, and then I can increase the amount of time I stand behind there before I reward her, and then sometimes I can ask her to go forward. So I kind of mix it up from there, but that is an important piece that I am missing at this point. But, we're getting better with the steering, and I mean from here we're just gonna have to do some practicing. So, and I like in those transitions are looking a lot better. She's going forward into the trot nicely. This is a good walk for her, doing a little bit of steering here to the inside. I think I'm rewarding the turning in to the inside. I'm not super sure. She kind of follows the rail nicely too, so that's helpful. Asking her to halt. She's still kind of going, so I'm just going to go with her, but hold that pressure. As soon as she stops, I'm going to click and reward. So probably at this point, since she's had a couple of, like, I think I held her like 3 times and 2 of them were not the best, I'm going to use my whip here to kind of push her away from me. Good. She wanted to turn toward me. I should ask her to halt with the fence so that she's not just continuing to go through and then stop and then get a treat, because I don't want that to become a pattern of where I ask her to stop, she walks some more, pulls through my hands, and then gets rewarded. I don't want that. So just be careful of that, of doing that over and over again. And I think that's part of the behavior, like, oh, I'm supposed to do that. So just have to be really clear with them. Like, that was a much, much better halt. So it might just be on that side of the arena or the round pen where she's trying to get back around to the other side. That's a possibility. But yeah, use that arena fence. So do like half turns so you're coming straight onto the fence. Ask the horse to stop. The fence will help you, and then you can click and treat. And so they're not pulling through the cue. So we don't really want that. You can do the same thing under saddle. So again, steering to the inside here. She's kind of just bending the neck and not the feet. Again, you'll get a little bit of that with the surcingle just because it's run through there, but I really want to be very specific that I want her to move her shoulders over and not just her neck. Good, that looks nice. And she can go the other way. And then, oh, she get a little stuck here. There we go. She wasn't completely sure on what to do. But I do like that she's stopping and like figuring it out versus rushing. You might hit a horse that's rushing, so slow down, do nice easy rein cues to not worry them. We don't want that. So again, nice trot transition, and she stayed pretty straight after she stopped, so I like that. She kind of took a little step toward me, but I'm okay. Again, I should have clicked and fed here so that she's getting rewarded for stopping and standing and waiting for me. But I was too focused on doing all the ground driving things, so. I mean, I'm okay with this. She's like grazing a little bit on the grass. So she's kind of taking a little bit of a break, but I still should have clicked and fed that. So I won't have that as soon as I get back there. She's ready to go. Even if she's just walking, I still don't. Asking her to halt here, I believe. Yep, there we go. That was better. So again, she walked through it a little bit. Not as much as when she was on the left hand of the screen. Going around the round pen, so better, but still not perfect. So we still have some stuff to work on. But I mean, really, that was pretty good for her second session. That was really good. So I'm just going to unhook her here and take her back here to the middle. Just kind of scoot her off the rail here so I can get that other rein down. I'm just unclipping that one, and then I'll unclip this one. So right now, like, she's loose, but she's not going to go anywhere. So that was a pretty good session. I'm pretty happy with that. And I like to kind of fold over my lines and then wrap up the end so that I don't have this giant big line everywhere, but that looked really great for her second session.